Hey guys, welcome to Heartland with Heartland. You're cooking with Chef Arden. Hello, and welcome back to Healthy with Heartland. I'm your host, Chef Arden. Today we're going to take a little bit of a walk on the wild side. I see a lot of people laughing and joking about this, but yes, we do have them. Yes, they are delicious, and yes, I think you should try them. I am talking about just the amazing frog legs. Now the best way to kind of approach these babies, they're very similar to a chicken wing. Texturally, flavor-wise, it does resemble chicken, but it does have a little bit more of a fattier mouthfeel, really. What we're going to be doing with these today is a very simple flour with some salt and some pepper, and then we're going to be going over the pan frying technique. This is not deep fry. Deep fry is completely submerged. Pan fry, just a little bit of oil in the pan, which is just enough to get that nice golden brown coloring. Before we start our standard breading procedure for these frog legs, there's a little bit of processing that we need to do to them. Unlike a chicken, whether that is your drumette or your flat, they're two separate legs. Now there's two ways to approach this. You can either cut it straight down the middle with a knife, or you could do a more classic technique, which is what I'm going to show you now. You need a knife that is small and controllable, a paring knife. I'm using the Carico paring knife, beautiful product. So the important thing, you want to find on one side of the legs, right here, one of the bones, one of the shins. You want to just lightly take the tip of your paring knife and you want to just make an incision through. You don't want to cut this part of the meat off. After you make that incision, you take the other leg and you just push it through to make a crisscross. And all that's going to do is just promote an even cooking as well as making sure that it keeps its shape. So we're going to go ahead and do this for the rest of them before we start with the standard breading procedure. Now that we have finished dressing the frog legs, we're going to start our standard breading procedure. Now there are a couple different ways to approach this. If you were doing an egg wash, or you could have breadcrumbs or regular flour, but there's always one rule that you need to follow when you're doing this technique. You need a wet hand and a dry hand. So basically what that means, the wet hand is anything that touches the raw product or goes into the egg, and the dry hand is anything that goes into your flour or your breadcrumbs. That way you're not actually caking any of the flour or the breading on your hands, and it doesn't get like super messy and we're not cross-contaminating. So what we're gonna do, take the frog legs, lay that face down in your flour with your wet hand, give that just a little bit of a shake, and with your dry hand, just scoop some of the flour on top of that. Now I lightly seasoned this flour just to add just a little bit of flavor to it because we will be seasoning after we are done pulling them out of the pan. So you should get a nice, very nice even coating, very light. We don't want it too heavy because what's gonna happen when we start doing the pan frying technique, we're actually gonna muddy up the pan and we're gonna start actually burning some of the resident flour that's already left in there. So this way we're keeping it nice and clean and we're keeping the flavor intact. So we're gonna finish doing this before we add to the pan. Once we get the oil into the pan, adjust your heat ever so slightly, and we want to get this oil up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you do not actually have a thermometer on hand to actually test the temperature of the oil, usually the go-to kind of old school style technique is to just take a look at it, make sure the light's hitting it in the right direction, and we start seeing just some waves and ripples kind of moving throughout the oil. That's usually a very good sign that it's hot. Now, with the pan frying technique, do not, and I cannot express this enough, do not use the water testing technique because water and hot oil spells a very bad time for everyone. So unless you want oil splashing all over the place, I suggest you not doing that. So now that the oil is hot enough, we're going to add one frog leg in at a time. Don't dump them all in because what's going to happen is the heat displacement. So this oil is going to cool the more frog legs that we put in. So you have to really just kind of watch the temperature on this to make sure we're not burning. But pick them up by the legs with a pair of tongs and just lay them in and away from you. We don't want a very violent fry because that's just going to add a lot of splashing and really messy. Okay. Oil succumbs just about halfway up what you're working with. Once they're all in, just roughly adjust the heat a little bit more. We want to make sure we're getting that nice golden brown color off of the flour. If it's about that color, we're going to need to go just a little bit longer. So we're going to adjust the heat just a little bit, get that a little bit hotter. Now we're going to do a little bit of seasoning, guys. This is the time that you have once you pull it out of the pan. Hit it with a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, or you could toss it in some sauce. Once again, we can treat this just like some chicken wings. They're very similar to that, but we're just going to go very nice, like light coating of salt on some of these. And then a little bit of the chili lime and lemon pepper. I'm just going to do a little bit of a dry rub this way. There you have it. That's how you do frog legs the right way. Give this a little try. This one has some of the chili lime on it. It's juicy. It's really crunchy from that awesome fry that we have. Very sweet, but that chili lime just puts it right over the top. Guys, this is a great recipe, so make sure you put this on your next order because it will be the talk of the next party.